Welcome to ANM News, and this is Abhijit Nandi Mazumdar live with a very interesting topic. India, China. It has always evoked interest among Indians, among people all over the globe, wherever you are. We are lucky to have with us today Mr. Jia Lu Yu, the Consul General of China in Kolkata. Welcome to ANM News, Mr. Jia Lu Yu.
Thank you very much, Abhijit. Thank you for having me.
Great. We'll start with the questions because initially, what a lot of these people thought that India, China have a very strong trade agreement, trade understanding, and after this, during this pandemic and post the scenario that we had, the conflict scenario. What do you think the trade between India and China coming back to normal now? Are there investments coming to Kolkata, especially with the Bengal Global Business Summit around the corner?
Well, thank you, Abhijit, for the interest in trade and economic cooperation between India and China. I recall that during my previous interview somewhere here, the bilateral trade between the two countries is increasing, even in pandemic. But actually, during my stay in Kolkata for the last 2 years in pandemic, I have been approached by many Indian friends about how to go to China to increase trade. And also, I have a lot of Chinese friends inquiring about how they can expand their business in India. Actually, just recently, it's 2 days ago, a friend of mine in Beijing asked about how they can set up some sort of a medical facility somewhere in India. So the interest is strong, and my office has not stopped working. So we always work with friends in China and in India to promote. We are encouraged by many of the business initiatives from business community in West Bengal and also from the government of West Bengal.
Do you have any particular, Mr. Chal, do you have, yeah, I just want to interrupt a bit. Do you have any particular companies who have shown interest to go there in China, and any Beijing company coming to India, especially with the Bengal Global Business Summit around the corner? So any company from China particular company from China showing interest in India at the moment?
Well, this is a good question, but due to the suspension of flight and almost halt of people-to-people exchange, we do not have specific company coming or specific company going in person to China. So that is not something happening. But what I'm saying is that, as I said, a lot of people are preparing something once the pandemic is over. So when I say that the West Bengal Business Investment Global Summit is going to convene in April, I have been approached by the government, by business community leaders as to what sort of help I can offer in my office. So when I say I was encouraged, I have been encouraged by many business initiatives, including the the manufacturing, infrastructure, medical facility, things like that, and also the digital industries. So I have been asked by friends from here and from China too. So interaction is intense, but not a specific project is coming yet. So
is the online interaction happening now between the business communities in Bengal?
It's mainly online interaction. As I said, during this time, it's a challenge. The Omicron, the Delta, the flight, no flight yet, and no people coming in person visit. So, but for the last 2 years, the bilateral trade between our two countries is doing well. The trade between West Bengal and China, I'm sure is doing well. I don't have the specific numbers, but I'm sure it's doing well. And my office is keeping in close touch with the government authorities here as to the BGBS. We are planning to have some interactions to discuss what we can do to promote what you said, the specific companies. We do have companies from both sides interested in the other side, but let's see.
Are there any chambers of commerce in India, in West Bengal, on online conversation with Chamber of Commerce in China or Beijing?
Well, actually, that's something we are about to do, to organize. As I said, we have done a lot of homework. We have been hearing needs from various sources. So we are about to organize in the next maybe weeks or months the online interaction between chambers of commerce here and maybe Chinese chambers of industry there in China. And also, as I mentioned at the beginning, that a lot of friends in Kolkata, in West Bengal, organizing Durga Puja pandals. And a lot of people have visited China on such exchange program. Many of them are doing the real business. So if you are the organizer of the program, let our friends know that we can, because we cannot have in-person meet at this time. It's better to have online hearing events, if I can use that word.
So you have one. So in such a scenario, do you have any education conferences, online or offline, planned for the future? Any student exchange programs and scholarship opportunities?
Well, that is a very good question. We, as I said, for the last 2 years, the people-to-people exchange is on a hold mode, and there's no specific education conferences or exchange programs organized yet. Though we haven't, as I said, we haven't organized or participated in any Durga Puja events. But my office has been closely working with Salt Lake City community. So we have a lot of interactions while pandemic. That is a good thing. So that is good preps for our future interaction. As I said, we want to be more innovative in the future if we can organize such event.
What about scholarship opportunities for Indian students? Basically, a lot of medical students, as I understand, go to China for studies. There are a lot of student exchanges which used to happen. So do you think this kind of programs are you going to initiate online maybe initially and then later on offline when it opens up?
It's a good question, and also I have been hearing ideas from social media as to the Chinese students here. So as you mentioned, the Omicron not that very infectious. I'm sure the two governments are keeping touch as to when and how to reopen the flight, so that medical students and other students in various majors can go back to campus. I noticed that the online program education in India is also becoming more and more popular. This is what China has been doing. So no panic in pandemic, while we cannot have the in-person class, lectures, try our best to be educated online. So once the flight is open again, we are ready. So we are we do not have such extend programs during the last 2 years, but we are ready to assist. You mentioned the scholarship. We do offer China scholarships at national level and provincial level. Actually, this year alone, we recommended up to 10 Indian students to apply for a full scholarship, China scholarship. And most of them have been granted that scholarship. And regarding student exchange programs,
excuse me, how many students have applied for China scholarship and got it?
10.
10. So this number is restricted to 10, or is it you plan to increase it to more?
The 10 mainly refer to the China scholarship. That is the full scholarship. That is the top scholarship from China. Actually, each university, each province may have their own scholarships. So because there are hundreds of thousands of Indian students wishing to go to China, I'm sure. Actually, this is what I want to emphasize. Yunnan province is so close to West Bengal, and it's so cost-effective, so efficient for East Indian students. Actually, the province has been quite generous in offering their scholarships, and we are in close contact with them regarding how their universities are opening their campus and how some of their majors are interested in applicants from India. We are doing just that. It sounds very inspiring.
Have you got any application for scholarship or for studies in China now from West Bengal? Have you received any kind of applications now?
This time of the year is not the time for application of scholarship. That is a couple of months ago. So this is the winter semester. Normally, China scholarship starts from weeks or months before the summer vacation. So once we have, actually, we published the application forms online and on my official website. The application is good. So we eventually, for the China scholarship, that is top scholarship from China, we selected up to 10.
Great. And any
future, we'll release, we'll post the news online in the future.
And any students from China interested to come to India? Basically, we have had a lot of Chinese students studying in Vishwavarati in Shantiniketan, and China always had a special mention in Shantiniketan. So any particular area of interest from the students from China to come to India?
Chinese students coming to India?
Yes, especially in Vishwavarati, Shantiniketan, because Shantiniketan has a Chinese school and a Bengali school, and we have initially seen previously that a lot of students from China have studied in Shantiniketan.
Yes, that's something very important. China Bhavan of Vishwavarati is one of my key cooperation partner. They have, over the years, over the decades, they have educated many China experts, Chinese language learning, and but due to the pandemic, the educational exchange program came to a halt for the last 2 years. So far, we do not have any Chinese students coming during the years, but we do here at the beginning, or since the beginning of the pandemic, there are several students got stuck in pandemic. We got a lot of help from the university and from China Bhavan, and some of them, I think, they safely, after finishing their program, they are safely back to China. That's what I have so far.
Great. You just mentioned about promoting Chinese language. So, are there any Chinese learning centers in India, and how to initiate to promote Chinese language in Kolkata or India?
Well, this is something even more important. We do not have official Chinese language learning center so far in West Bengal, in Kolkata. But we do, as you may know, the Chinese language school in Kolkata, in the several schools which have exchange programs with Yunnan province, they do have the interest in introducing Chinese language. And also, we have several universities who also have the interest in setting up sort of Chinese language. But this takes energy and mind to really configure something that is both beneficial to both sides. It's no doubt about the beauty of Chinese language, just like Chinese taking Hindi or Bengali as something beautiful to learn, Tagore to learn, Sanskrit, things like that. So the beauty of Chinese language is there's no doubt about that. But to have the Chinese Learning Center is something I would be very interested to discuss with people here. That's something very useful too. You mentioned the medical doctors earlier. I mentioned before the pandemic, we organized a sort of gathering for the Chinese Indian doctors who have Chinese medical degrees. It was a wonderful event. Hopefully, I know there are many such doctors in the districts and the community of West Bengal. I hope that they are doing well. I'm sure they are doing well during the past 2 years fighting the pandemic and assist the community. So I'm very confident about the future of Chinese language in this community. But let's work together to really benefit those Chinese language learners.
Definitely. In such a scenario, do you feel that Hindi and Bengali and Sanskrit has become popular in China?
Of course, of course. Actually, just this morning, I read a piece in Chinese by a top Chinese scholar on Indian culture. This article was published by a top Chinese media, Chinese newspaper. He was about to visit India before the pandemic. The delegation was halted by the outbreak. This is one example. Another example is it's the Odyssey dance. It's not Bengali, but it's Odyssey dance. I know a young Chinese girl who quitted her good job in Shanghai and joining the Odyssey mentor. She graduated now, and she said that she is more used to Odyssey dance here than going back to Shanghai. I was told that she is now living in Chennai to follow up his Sanskrit learning. This is one example. Another example is about the yoga dance. Okay, and I got a lot of feedback from my Twitter followers on a short clip on a prefectural city's yoga party in a city square. It's hundreds of thousands of people practicing, maybe more people than West Bengal at the moment. So giving these examples, I want to ensure you that Chinese, many Chinese, many more Chinese than you can imagine, who are interested in Indian culture, including the Bengali literature, Sanskrit studies, Buddhism, the Buddhist roots, things like that, yoga, learning, many more. Personally, I said this before. I want to repeat. West Bengal is where that bring us today many of the earliest evidence of China-India historical exchange. Buddhist, Tegel, Chinese community, and economics. Kolkata was the British Indian capital. Yes, there has been a lot of exchange between this place and China. So I'm very happy to be here in Kolkata for the last nearly 3 years to witness such exchange.
Absolutely, as you correctly mentioned, West Bengal, Kolkata has very strong Indian Chinese community, has very strong roots in Kolkata here. And the Indian Chinese community are also in very key businesses. They have been here for over the last several years, since the time the Chinese community set foot in Kolkata way back. So it's a historical connect. Are there any plans with the Indian Chinese community in Kolkata?
Well, of course, we always have plans regarding the Chinese community in Tangra and Tireti. Many of them had a hard time during the pandemic. Several community leaders died in the last 2 years. I'm very sorry for that, but I'm proud of them for their perseverance and persistence in fighting the pandemic. My office has been keeping very close with them. We try our best to provide medical supplies, some oxygen concentrators, and many of them, they are rooted. Their earliest roots in China is in Fujian province and Guangdong province. They speak Hakka, they speak Cantonese. So their roots in China, or their home, ancestral homes, are today's some of the most developed regions in China. Over the years, they have been able to going back to see some of the things. But my plan is that for the future exchange, I want them to see something different. The deeper side of their community in China, in Guangdong and Fujian province. And also, because Tireti and Tangra communities, Chinese communities, they have been closely followed by international media. Even during the last years, by economists, by South China Morning Post, by American media. Chinese community, like in Kolkata, like any Chinese community in the world, they are very hardworking. They have contributed tremendously to the community. But how can we make the best use of their potential, their ingenuity, so that they can better contribute to the community? This is a widely debated and widely talked about topic across the world. So my office, before the pandemic, we had a couple of discussions as to how, for example, to promote their cuisine. You mentioned the Chinese language learning center. A lot of chambers of houses, the family faith, family religion house, they have been empty for some time. Maybe some of their houses can be used for the community to teach Chinese, to exhibit Chinese cultural heritage, to organize some exhibit, just like the Indian medical mission in China, Dr. Basu's house in town. They can be turned into a sort of small museum, so that community here can see how Indian medical mission in China fight alongside with the Chinese Communist Party. So the Chinese community here, the same thing. Another thing would be the the downtown redevelopment. That is a grander project. As you know, Kolkata is very different from Yunnan province, for example. The downtown Kunming, as you know, downtown Kunming was or still is a very strong Muslim community, very dilapidated community in downtown Kunming. But now the downtown Muslim community in Kunming has been turning to very successfully a very modern Muslim community. With this, I want to just use this as an example as to my office is willing to work with community, both Chinese community and the local Bengali community in town, to figure out good, really good, pragmatic ideas, so that we can put the Chinese community and the local community together.
Yeah, I want to ask a question. There are several Chinese associations here in Kolkata. Does the consulate have any single umbrella organization under which the entire community is concentrated?
No, they're family associations. Normally, they are the family associations, and some chamber of commerce. They have been here for decades, for the last 100 and more years. These are their tradition. My office, as the representative from their ancestral home, is to provide any assistance they need. So we do on demand. Okay, if they need, for example, information about their family root, we will try to find them. If they have business needs, they want to get connected, maybe we can do that, as we do for the business community here. And also, as you know, we sent some of the dragon dancers to China because they have the dragon dancing group here, but their skills may need training. So we send them over to Chinese, but we do not have sort of umbrella. That is not something we do. It's their family tradition. It's their community tradition. So far, I think they are doing well in rallying their own resources, in putting energy together to fight the pandemic. That's why I said they find the traditional Chinese medicine is good. So we purchased some capsules from China and then distribute it. That's what we can do. That's what we are doing so far. And so far, so good.
Absolutely. Coming back to that the business part, there's one aspect which I intend to touch upon. Is there any project, any future plan on a hydroelectricity power project in North Bengal? Because North Bengal connects a lot of places. And is there any plan for that?
This is something I hear the first time. North Bengal is a place that I have not been able to travel. I do hope I can travel to Darjeeling and other places, but I have not been able to do so. China is very experienced in in building power stations across the mountains, on rivers. China is very experienced. And also we are good. For example, Yunnan province is very good at building bridges and tunnels and crossing rivers and valleys and tunnels, etc. My office, as well as myself, is very keen to make connection between the need from West Bengal and elsewhere in East India and Chinese companies and Chinese provinces. So there are two levels of exchange. One is the bridge between companies. So if there is an Indian company who is interested in having Chinese infrastructural company coming to West Bengal, so that is one. One is the government level. So you mentioned the West Bengal is about to organize the Global Business Summit. If they have the need, building hydropower, or building infrastructure, building roads, we look forward to have such inquiry from the friends here, from the government, from business. And once we have specific inquiry, we certainly will try our best to assist. But I think it will be. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that such needs would emerge in the wake of the pandemic, when everything settles down.
Absolutely. Now, coming to democracy, you have India as the world's biggest, largest democracy. You talk about people's democracy in China. So how do you elaborate on that people's democracy in China?
Okay, that's a very good question. And also, thank you very much for your interest in how democracy works in China. Recently, maybe friends in India have been aware that the United States is about to host a so-called Summit of Democracy, unilaterally defining what it is, what is not democracy, and trying to rank different countries as democracy and non-democracy according to different political camps. But that's what the American is doing. This is not democratic. This is to split and to confront. Facing the turbulence around the globe, especially in the face of the pandemic, I think countries like India, China, Russia, yesterday we have been hearing the wonderful summit between Russia and India. So countries like India, Russia, China, and the United States, we should join hands in fight the pandemic to help the developing countries with vaccines, with technical support, even the climate change, rather than spending precious time to smear others. We should spend time to save lives of the developing world rather than to smear others, especially partners. In fact, in the face of the rampant pandemic, the American democracy has not shown its capability to save lives, while it promotes overseas the democratic norms and values. You rightly said, Indian people are proud for being the world's largest democracy, according to my study, featuring a very strong cooperative federalism. Chinese are proud of its whole process people's democracy, meaning a democratic system of putting people at the center and focusing on the whole process. That is, for every joint, every knot of a public policy making process, we always put people's livelihood, people's well-being first. So President Xi Jinping once said that China's democracy is different from that in the West, where the politicians and election campaigners would only hear what the people say when casting ballots. China practices the whole process democracy, in which the people not only have the right to elect, but also have the right to be broadly involved in the whole process of decision and governance.
That's interesting.
December the 4th, China released its white paper titled China democracy that works. And 2 days ago, Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs published the state of democracy in the US. At a dialogue on, I think on December the 2nd, a dialogue on democracy attended by some of the top scholars from China and around the world. Chinese Foreign Ministry Vice Minister Le Yucheng had a very inspiring remarks on democracy. I want to quote what he said. At the end of the day, democracy has to be this worldly, not otherworldly, this worldly. Has to be informed by the people, has to be based on people's needs, and has to cultivate fortunes for the people, rather than staying high above clouds and speaking loud like hot air while keeping distance from the people. So far as China is concerned, democratic norms should never be a flying vulture peak. You know, vulture peak. In China, we in Hangzhou, we are having in the Lingying Temple, there is a flying vulture peak, said to be because Lingying Temple is one of China's oldest Buddhist temple. An Indian monk in ancient time, they traveled and settled to Hangzhou. He found a hill in the place looking very much like the vulture peak in Bihar, in Bodh Gaya area. So he named that peak as the flying vulture peak. But democracy is not. Democracy, people never expect a flying vulture peak, something from outside flying to home, and it becomes standard. And also, a lecture on democracy is never needed for civilizations like China and India. I think India and China are doing well in our own democratic norms, but we have been hearing people teaching us this or that. So lecture not needed. In order to succeed, democracy must be deeply rooted in the soils of our land so as to make our people satisfied and happy. There are a lot of talks in China today, yesterday, and in the last couple of weeks about the whole process, people's democracy. We have a lot of articles and news clips I would share with you on my Twitter and also on my website. You and other friends interested, if you are interested, you are most welcome to make any further inquiry. And also, I want to say to Abhijit that so far we have had wonderful interaction online. I think this might be the new normal between our two countries, between our peoples. While traveling and meeting person is difficult, this online interaction is good. So I look forward to further interactions with you and other Durga Puja panelists on anything you are interested. And I want to thank you very much for the interview.
Absolutely, and we surely hope that the pandemic, post-pandemic, will have a more fruitful interactions and a more fruitful discussions, and something to really, which will really take forward the relationship between the two countries. Thank you very much for being with us in ANM News. Thank you, viewers, for being with us, and we'll definitely come back to you with such interviews in the near future.
Thank you very much, Abhijit. Thank you very much. Wish you and family, all our friends well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
আরো খবরের আপডেট পেতে সাবস্ক্রাইব করুন আমাদের ইউটিউব চ্যানেলটি আর বেল আইকনে ক্লিক করুন নোটিফিকেশনস পেতে।